Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtara Shatashmad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Srila Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Padadas Raghunath Shara Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Surup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gopal Shada Vrinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जाय। श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरि बोल से श्री माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। पदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणीति नामिने। नमो ओम विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेत्य कृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरये। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नयमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So, yesterday, we finally we read the death of Hiranyaksha after Varahadev played with Hiranyaksha for a while. One second, let me just find where we are. We're on verse 33. Okay. Yeah, there's Hiranyaksha. He made all these different illusions, and then Varaha, he destroyed them all with his Sudarshan chakra. And Hiranyaksha, he tried to squeeze the Lord's body with his arms, but to his amazement, he found that the Lord was out of his grasp. Even though he was trying to squeeze him, but then he would all of a sudden be out of his arms. And frustrated, Hiranyaksha tried to strike the Lord's chest with his hard fists, but the Lord then slapped him in the root of the ear. And then Hiranyaksha's body began to wheel, his eyeballs popped out, his arms and legs were broken, his hair scattered, and he fell down dead like an uprooted tree. And then seeing the dead body of Hiranyaksha, whose glow was yet unfaded, Brahma and others admiringly said, "Oh, who could meet such a blessed death?" He was struck by the 4 foot of the Lord, on whom yogis meditate upon. While seeing the face of the Lord, he cast off his body. These 2 assistants of the Lord, having been cursed, became demons and will get back to their positions after a few births. Then the demigods addressed the Lord. The demigod said, all obeisances to you. You are the enjoyer of all sacrifices, who have assumed the form of a boar and pure sattva, in pure goodness, for maintaining the world. Now that the demon has been slain by you, we are now at ease in devotion to your lotus feet. And then Maitreya, so remember we're in a conversation between Maitreya with Vidura. So now Maitreya Maitreya is narrating this whole thing to Vidura. So now Maitreya is saying to Vidura, "Then the Lord returned to his abode, where there is always an uninterrupted festival, being praised by all the demigods. I have spoken to you the pastime of Varaha as I heard it from my Guru." And now this is where we are. Sutta Uvacha. And now Sutta Goswami is talking to all the sages of Naimisharanya. So we're in a conversation within a conversation. Iti kosharavakyatam ashruta bhagavat katam kshatanandam param lebe mahabhagavato tija. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, "My dear Brahman, Kshata, Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Kosharav, Maitreya, and he was very pleased." Purport. If anyone wants to derive transcendental pleasure by hearing the pastimes of the Lord, he must hear from the authoritative source as explained here. Maitreya heard the narration from his bona fide spiritual master, and Vidura also heard from Maitreya. One who becomes an authority simply by presenting whatever he has heard from his spiritual master, and one who does not accept a bona fide spiritual master, cannot be an authority. Sorry, did I say one who? One becomes an authority simply by hearing whatever from a spiritual master. One who does not do that can never be an authority. This is clearly explained here. If one wants to have transcendental pleasure, he must find a person with authority. It is also stated in the Bhagavatam that simply by hearing from an authoritative source, with the ear and the heart, one can relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible. Sanatana Goswami, therefore, has especially warned that one should not hear anything about the personality of the Lord from the lips of a non-devotee. Non-devotees are considered to be like serpents. As milk is poisoned by a serpent's touch, so, although the narration of the pastimes of the Lord is as pure as milk, when administered by serpent-like non-devotees, it becomes poisonous. Not only does it have no effect in transcendental pleasure, but it is dangerous also. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned that no description of the pastimes of the Lord should be heard from the Mayavad, or the impersonalist school. He has clearly said, Mayavadi bhashya shunile hoy sarvanash. If anyone hears the Mayavadi's interpretation of the pastimes of the Lord, or their interpretation of the Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, or any other Vedic literature, then he is doomed. Once one is associated with impersonalists, he can never understand the personal feature of the Lord and his transcendental pastimes. Dandavat pranam Zindira Mataji. Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages headed by Shaunak, and therefore he addressed them in this verse as Dvija, twice born. The sages assembled in Naimisharanya after hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from Sutta Goswami. All those sages were all Brahmins. But to acquire the qualifications of a Brahmin is not everything. Merely to be twice born is not perfection. Perfection is attained when one hears the pastimes and activities of the Lord from a bona fide source. Anyesham punyashlokanam uttama yashasam satam upashruta bhaven moda shrivatsankasya kim puna. What to speak of hearing the pastimes of the Lord, whose chest is marked with Srivatsa? People may take transcendental pleasure even in hearing the works and deeds of the devotees, whose fame is immortal. Purport. Bhagavatam literally means the pastimes of the Lord and the Lord's devotees. For example, there are pastimes of Lord Krishna and narrations of devotees like Prahlad, Dhruva, and Maharaj Ambarish. Both pastimes pertain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the devotees' pastimes are in relation to him. The Mahabharata, for example, the history of the Pandavas and their activities, is sacred because the Pandavas had a direct relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yogadrindram jashagrastam dhyayantam charanam pujam kroshantinam kare nunam Krichrata mochaya drutam. The personality of Godhead delivered the king of elephants, who was attacked by an alligator and who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying. And the Lord saved them from the impending danger. Purport. The example of the elephant in danger who is saved by the Supreme Lord is especially cited here because even if one is an animal, he can approach the personality of Godhead in devotional service, whereas even a demigod cannot approach the Supreme Person unless he is a devotee. Haribol Gargraj, Radhe Radhe. Tam Sukaradam Rijubir Ananya Sharanar Nribhi Kritagya ko naseveta duradyam asadubi. What grateful soul is there who would not render his loving service to such a great master as the personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to him for protection, though the unrighteous man finds it difficult to propitiate him. What's propitiate mean again? Glorify? Oh. Propitiate means win or regain the favor of a god, spirit, or person by doing something that pleases them. Okay. And I think the word here is, oh, never mind. Okay. Purport. Every living entity, especially persons in the human race, must feel grateful for the benedictions offered by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Anyone, therefore, with a simple heart of gratefulness must be Krishna conscious and offer devotional service to the Lord. Those who are actually thieves and rogues do not recognize or acknowledge the benedictions offered to them by the Supreme Lord, and they cannot render him devotional service. Ungrateful persons are those who do not understand how much benefit they are deriving by the arrangement of the Lord. They enjoy the sunshine and moonshine, and they get water free of charge, yet they do not feel grateful, but simply going on enjoying these gifts of the Lord. They enjoy the sunshine and moonshine, and they get water free of charge, yet they do not feel grateful, but simply go on enjoying these gifts of the Lord. Therefore, they must be called thieves and rogues. Yo vai hiranyakshavadam mahadbhutam vikreditam karana sukaratmana shrinoti gayatunmadod anumodate jasa vimuchate brahma vadar api dvija. O Brahmins, anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first boar in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmin. Purport. Since the personality of Godhead is in the absolute position, there is no difference between his pastimes and his personality. Anyone who hears about the pastimes of the Lord associates with the Lord directly, and one who associates directly with the Lord is certainly freed from all sinful activities, even to the extent of killing a Brahmin, which is considered the most sinful activity in the material world. One should be very eager to hear about the activities of the Lord from the bona fide source, the pure devotee. If one simply gives oral reception to the narration and accepts the glories of the Lord, then he is qualified. The impersonalist philosophers cannot understand the activities of the Lord. They think that all his activities are Maya. Therefore, they are called Mayavadis. Since everything to them is Maya, these narrations are not for them. Some impersonalists are reluctant to hear the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, although many of them are now taking an interest in it, just for monetary gain. Actually, however, they have no faith. On the contrary, they describe it in their own way. We should not hear, therefore, from the Mayavadis. We have to hear from Sutta Goswami or Maitreya, who actually presents the narrations as they are, and only then can we relish the pastimes of the Lord. Otherwise, the effects on the neophyte audience will be poisonous. Etan mahapunyam alam pavitram dhanyam yashasyam padamayurashisham pranendriyanam yudhishoravardhanam narayanante gatiranga shinvatam. This most sacred narrative confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord, O dear Saunaka. Purport. Devotees are generally attracted by the narratives of the pastimes of the Lord, and even though they do not prosecute austerities or meditation, this very process of hearing attentively about the pastimes of the Lord will endow them with innumerable benefits, such as wealth, fame, longevity, and other desirable aims of life. If one continues to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is full of narratives of the pastimes of the Lord at the end of this life, one is sure to be transferred to the eternal transcendental abode of the Lord. Thus hearers are benefited both ultimately and for as long as they are in the material world. That is the supreme sublime result of engaging in devotional service. The beginning of devotional service is to spare some time and listen to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the right source. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended 5 items of devotional service, namely to serve the devotees of the Lord, to chant Hare Krishna, to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, to worship the deity of the Lord, and to live in a place of pilgrimage. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 3rd canto, 19th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Killing of the Demon Hiranyaksha. Raseshwari Mataji is now living in a holy place, New Braj. Chapter 20. Conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. So now we're going to read the questions of Saunaka Rsi. Saunaka uvacha mahim pratishtam adhyasya sote swayam bhuvo manu kanya kanvatishtar dvarani margaya varajanmanam. Sri Saunaka inquired, O Sutta Goswami, after the earth was again situated in its orbit, what did Swayambhuva Manu do to show the path of liberation to persons who were to take birth later on? Purport. The appearance of the Lord as the firstborn incarnation occurred during the time of Swayambhuva Manu, whereas the present age is in the period of Vaivasvata Manu. Each Manu's period lasts 72 times the cycle of 4 ages, and one cycle of ages equals 4,320,000 solar years. Thus, 4,320,000 times 72 solar years is the reign of one Manu. In each Manu's period, there are many changes in many ways, and there are 14 Manus within one day of Brahma. It is understood here that Manu creates scriptural regulations for the salvation of the conditioned souls who come to the material world for material enjoyment. The Lord is so kind that any soul who wants to enjoy in this material world is given full facility for enjoyment, and at the same time he has shown the path of salvation. Saunaka Rsi therefore inquired from Sutta Goswami, what did Swayambhuva Manu do after the reinstatement of the earth in its orbital situation? 2. Kshatta Mahabhagavata Krishna Saikantika Surit Yastatyaja Grajam Krishne Sapatyam Agavan Iti. Saunaka Rsi inquired about Vidura, who was a great devotee and friend of Lord Krishna, and who gave up the company of his elder brother because of the latter, along with his sons. Because the latter, along with his sons, played tricks against the desires of the Lord. Purports. The incident referred to here is that Vidura left the protection of his elder brother Dhritarashtra, once traveling everywhere to sacred places, and met Maitreya at Haridwar. Saunaka Rsi here inquires about the topics of the conversation between Maitreya Rsi and Vidura. Vidura's qualification was that he was not only a friend of the Lord, but also a great devotee. When Krishna tried to stop the war and mitigate the misunderstanding between the cousin brothers, they refused to accept his counsel. Therefore, Kshatta, or Vidura, was unsatisfied with them, and he left the palace. As a devotee, Vidura showed by example that anywhere that Krishna is not honored is a place unfit for human habitation. A devotee may be tolerant regarding his own interests, but he should not be tolerant when there is misbehavior toward the Lord or the Lord's devotee. Here the word Agavan is very significant, for it indicates that the Kauravas, Dhritarashtra's sons, lost the war because of being sinful and disobeying the instructions of Krishna. Dvaipayanar anavaro mahitve yatasya dehaja sarvatmana shrita krishnam Tadparanshchapyanuvrata. Vidura was born from the body of Vedvyas, and was not less than he. Thus he accepted the lotus feet of Krishna wholeheartedly, and was attracted to his devotees. Purport. The history of Vidura is that he was born of a Shudra mother, but his seminal father was Vyasadeva. Thus he was not less than Vyasadeva in any respect. Since he was born of a great father who was supposed to be an incarnation of Narayan and who composed all the Vedic literatures, Vidura was also a great personality. He accepted Krishna as his worshipable Lord and followed his instructions wholeheartedly. Kinva prachan maitreyam virajastirtha sevaya upagamya kushavarta asinam tattvavittamam. Vidura was purified of all passion by wandering in sacred places, and at last he reached Haridwar, where he met the great sage who knew the science of spiritual life, and he inquired from him. Saunaka Rsi therefore asked, "What more did Vidura inquire from Maitreya?" Purport. Here the words Virajas Tirtha Sevaya refer to Vidura, who was completely cleansed of all contamination by traveling to places of pilgrimage. In India, there are hundreds of sacred places of pilgrimage, of which Prayag, Haridwar, Vrindavan, and Rameshwaram are considered principal. After leaving his home, which was full of politics and diplomacy, Vidura wanted to purify himself by traveling to all the sacred places, which are so situated that anyone who goes automatically becomes purified. This is especially true in Vrindavan. Any person may go there, and even if he is sinful, he will at once contact an atmosphere of spiritual life and will automatically chant the names of Krishna and Radha. That we have actually seen and experienced. It is recommended in the Shastras that after retiring from active life and accepting the Vanaprastha, the retired order, one should travel everywhere to places of pilgrimage in order to purify himself. Vidura completely discharged this duty, and at last he reached Kushavarta, or Haridwar, where the sage Maitreya was sitting. Another significant point is that one must go to sacred places, not only to take bath there, but to search out great sages like Maitreya and take instructions from them. If one does not do so, his traveling to places of pilgrimage is simply a waste of time. Narottam Das Thakur, a great acharya of the Vaishnava sect, has, for the present, forbidden us to go to such places of pilgrimage, because in this age, the times having so changed, a sincere person may have a different impression on seeing the behavior of the present residents of the pilgrimage sites. He has recommended that instead of taking the trouble to travel to such places, one should concentrate his mind on Govinda, and that will help him. Of course, to concentrate one's mind on Govinda in any place is a path meant for those who are most spiritually advanced. It is not for ordinary persons. Ordinary persons may still derive benefit from traveling to holy places like Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, and Haridwar. It is recommended in this verse that one find a person who knows the science of God, or a tattvavit. Tattvavit means one who knows the absolute truth. There are many pseudo-transcendentalists. That's a long word. Pseudo-transcendentalists. Even at places of pilgrimage. Such men are always present, and one has to be intelligent enough to find the actual person to be consulted. Then one's attempts to progress by traveling to different holy places will be successful. One has to be freed from all contamination, and at the same time, he has to find a person who knows the science of Krishna. Krishna helps a sincere person, as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Guru Krishna Prasade. By the mercy of the spiritual master and Krishna, one attains the path of salvation, devotional service. If one sincerely searches for spiritual salvation, then Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, gives him the intelligence to find a suitable spiritual master. By the grace of the spiritual master like Maitreya, one gets the proper instruction and advances in his spiritual life. Tayo samvadato sutta pravritahya malakata apoganga iva ghagnir hare padam bhujashraya. Shaunak inquired about the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. There must have been many narrations of the spotless pastimes of the Lord. The hearing of such narrations is exactly like bathing in the water of the Ganges, for it can free one of all sinful reactions. Purport. The water of the Ganges is purified because it pours forth from the lotus feet of the Lord. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is as good as the water of the Ganges because it is spoken from the mouth of the Supreme Lord. So it is with any topic on the pastimes of the Lord or the characteristics of his transcendental activities. The Lord is absolute. There is no difference between his words, his perspiration, or his pastimes. The water of the Ganges, the narrations of his pastimes, and the words spoken by him are all on the absolute platform, and thus taking shelter of any one of them is equally good. Srila Rupa Goswami has enunciated that anything in relationship with Krishna is on the transcendental platform. If we can dovetail all our activities in relationship with Krishna, then we do not stand on the material platform, but always on the spiritual platform. Tana kirtaya bhadram te kirtanyodara karmana rasagya ko nutripyeta hari lilamritam piban. O Sutta Goswami, all good fortune to you. Please narrate the activities of the Lord, which are all magnanimous and worth glorifying. What sort of devotee can be satiated by hearing the nectarian pastimes of the Lord? Purport. The narration of the pastimes of the Lord, which are always enacted on the transcendental platform, should be received with all respect by devotees. Those who are actually on the transcendental platform are never satiated by hearing the continuous narration of the pastimes of the Lord. For example, if any self-realized soul reads from the Bhagavad Gita, he will never feel satisfied. The narrations of Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam may be read thousands and thousands of times, and still, without fail, new aspects of the subject matter will be relished by the devotee. Evam ugra shava prishta rishibir naimishayanai bhagavatar pita dhyatmas tan aha shruyatam iti. On being asked to speak by the great sages of Naimisharanya, the son of Brahmaharshan, Sutta Goswami, whose mind was absorbed in the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, said, "Please hear what I shall now speak." Sutta Uvacha Harer Drita Krodatana Swamayaya Nishamya Goru Dharanam Rasatalat Leelam Hiranyaksham Avagyaya Hatam Sanjata Harsho Munim Ahabharata. Sutta Goswami continued, Vidura, the descendant of Bharata, was delighted to hear the story of the Lord, who, having assumed by his own divine potency the form of a boar, had enacted the sport of lifting the earth from the bottom of the ocean and indifferently killing the demon Hiranyaksha. Vidura then spoke to the sage as follows. Purport. It is stated here that the Lord assumed the form of a boar by his own potency. His form is not actually the form of a conditioned soul. A conditioned soul is forced to accept a particular type of body by the higher authority or material laws. But here it is clearly said that the Lord was not forced to accept the form of a boar by the external power. In Bhagavad Gita, the same fact is confirmed. When the Lord descends to this earth, he assumes a form by his own internal potency. The form of the Lord, therefore, can never consist of material energy. The Mayavad version that when Brahma assumes a form, the form is accepted from Maya is not acceptable, because although Maya is superior to the conditioned soul, she is not superior to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She is under the control of the Supreme Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Maya is under his superintendence. Maya cannot overcome the Lord. The Mayavad idea that the living entity is the supreme absolute truth, but has become covered by Maya, is invalid, because Maya cannot be so great that it can cover the supreme. The covering capacity can be employed on the part and parcel of Brahman, not on the supreme Brahman. Hari Bol Keshav. Vidura Uvacha. Okay, so I said that we'd read up to verse 8 today, but we still have 15 minutes. So let me just, 1 second. Okay, so, yeah, let's, okay, so let's read up to at least verse 11 and maybe verse 15. Vidura Uvacha Prajapati Pati Srishtva Prajasarge Prajapatin Kemara Bhatame Brahman Prabruhya Vyaktamargavit. Vidura said, since you know matters inconceivable to us, tell me, O holy sage, what did Brahma do to create living beings after evolving the Prajapatis, the progenitors of living beings? Purport. Significant here is the word avyakta margavit, one who knows that which is beyond our perception. To know matters beyond one's perception, one has to learn from a superior authority in the line of disciplic succession. Just to know who is our father is beyond our perception. For that, the mother is the authority. Similarly, we have to understand everything beyond our perception from the authority who actually knows. The first avyakta margavit, or authority, is Brahma, and the next authority in disciplic succession is Narad. Maitreya Rishi belongs to that disciplic succession, so he also is avyakta margavit. Anyone in the bona fide line of disciplic succession is avyakta margavit, a personality who knows that which is beyond ordinary perception. Ye maricha dayo vipra yastu swayam bhuva manu devai brahmana adeshat katam itar bhavayam. Vidura inquired, how did the Prajapatis, such progenitors of living entities as Maricha and Swayambhuva Manu, how did those Prajapatis create according to the instruction of Brahma? And how did they evolve this manifested universe? Sadvitya kima asrijan swatantra uttakarmasu aho svit sanghata sarva idam sma samakalpayan. Did they evolve the creation in conjunction with their respective wives? Did they remain independent in their action? Or did they all jointly produce it? Maitreya Uvacha Daivena Durvitarkena Paranani Mishena Cha Jataksho Bhagavato Mahanasir Gunatrayat. Maitreya said, when the equilibrium of the combination of the three modes of nature was agitated by the unseen activity of the living entity, by Mahavishnu and by the force of time, the total material elements were produced. Purport. The cause of the material creation is described here very lucidly. The first cause is Daiva, or the destiny of the conditioned soul. The material creation exists for the conditioned soul who wanted to become a false lord for sense enjoyment. One cannot trace out the history of when the conditioned soul first desired to lord it over material nature. But in Vedic literature, we always find that the material creation is meant for the sense enjoyment of the conditioned soul. There is a nice verse which says that the sum and substance of the conditioned soul's sense enjoyment is that as soon as he forgets his primary duty to render service to the Lord, He creates an atmosphere of sense enjoyment, which is called Maya. That is the cause of material creation. Another word used here is durvitarkena. No one can argue about when and how the conditioned soul became desirous of sense enjoyment, but the cause is there. Material nature is an atmosphere meant only for the sense enjoyment of the conditioned soul, and it is created by the personality of Godhead. It is mentioned here that in the beginning of the creation, the material nature, or Prakriti, is agitated by the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. There are three Vishnus mentioned. One is Mahavishnu, another is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and the third is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The first canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam discusses all these three Vishnus, and here also it is confirmed that Vishnu is the cause of creation. From Bhagavad Gita also, we learn that Prakriti begins to work and is still working under Krishna's or Vishnu's glance of superintendence. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unchangeable. One should not mistakenly think that because the creation emanates from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has therefore transformed into this material cosmic manifestation. He exists in his personal form always, but the cosmic manifestation takes place by his inconceivable potency. The workings of that energy are difficult to comprehend, but it is understood from Vedic literature that the conditioned soul creates his own destiny and is offered a particular body by the laws of nature under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who always accompanies him as Paramatma. Raja Pradhanan Mahatas Trilingo Daiva Choditat Jata Sasarja Bhutadir Viyad Adini Panchasha. As impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of three kinds, evolves from the Mahat Tattva, in which the element of Rajas As impelled by the destiny of the jiva, the false ego, which is of three kinds, evolved from the Mahat Tattva, in which the element of Rajas predominates. From the ego, in turn, evolved many groups of 5 principles. Purport. What time is it? Okay. What verse are we on? 13. Okay. The primordial matter, or Prakriti, material nature, consisting of 3 modes, generates 4 groups of 5. The first group is called elementary and consists of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The second group of 5 is called tanmatra, referring to the subtle elements, the sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. The third group of the 5 sense organs the third group is the 5 senses for acquiring knowledge: the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. The fourth group is the 5 working senses: speech, hands, feet, anus, and genitals. Some say that there are 5 groups of 5. One group is the sense objects, one is the 5 elements, one is the 5 sense organs for acquiring knowledge, another is the senses for working, and the 5th group is the 5 deities who control these divisions. Okay, so let's see if there's enough time for 2 more verses. Tani chaikashashashtum asamartani bhotikam samhadya daiva yogena haimam andam avasrijan. Separately, unable to produce the material universe, they combined with the help of the energy of the Supreme Lord and were able to produce a shining egg. We'll end with this verse. So shaishtabdishalile andakosho niratmaka sagram vai varsha sahasram anvavatsit tamishvara. For over 1,000 years, the shiny egg lay on the waters of the causal ocean in a lifeless state. Then the Lord entered it as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Purport. From this verse it appears that all the universes are floating in the causal ocean. Alright, so we're ending here. And tomorrow we will read about Brahma's creation, Visarga, or the secondary creation. Is this the third time or the fourth time that we're reading about? No, this is, okay, he's getting into, this is going to be the creation of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, the creation of the Devatas, creation of demons, the demons flirting with twilight and assuming it to be a woman, creation of Gandharvas and Apsaras, creation of the ghosts and the witches, the Bhutas and Pisachas, the creation of Satyas and Pitris, creation of Siddhas and Vitagaras. We're going to read all those. Creation of snakes. So, yeah, we'll read all about that tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gurangam Dharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmachala Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmachala Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Maha-Bhagavat Shila Gokshara Swabaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannatha Swabaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवश च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्वताय नमो नमः. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Somebody's asking, who are the five presiding deities of the five divisions? I actually don't know the answer to that. Because before, when we're reading about the creation, it said the presiding deity of like every single little detail, like every single creation. I'm just trying to find it. But I don't know exactly each one of those.
It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm just looking right now in this book. Anyhow. Sorry, I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Okay, so, no, that's, okay, yeah, here. Look, there, here's, I don't know if this is the answer, but see here, there's the gross organ, there's the mouth, and the controlling deity of that is Agni Dev, fire. And for the organ of the palate, the controlling deity is Varuna. The nostrils is the Ashwini Kumars. The eyes, Surya Dev. The gross skin is Anila, the wind god. Ears is the Dik Devatas. The Devatas of the 4 directions. Skin is trees personified. I'm not sure, but it's probably referring to something else, right? Because it's a Devata in each group of 5. So I don't know the answer, actually. If I find out, though, I'll let you know. Okay, Haribol.